Hi, I'm Daniel from FTC Iowa. I'm here to talk with you today about mounting your robot controller and your driver station. With the new Android technology, managing the connections between your control components is more important than ever. The micro USB and mini USB connectors are pretty rugged. They're used in commercial cell phones. However, when they're being used for a data connection, like we do in robotics, it's important to keep them from wiggling relative to the phone and relative to the module. I've seen a lot of teams mounting their phones like this. And then as the robot drives around the field, the phone can wiggle, causing the connection to become unstable. If the robot tips over, the phone can actually fall out, damaging the connector and making it unreliable. First, let's talk about the modern robotics phone clips. These are blue plastic clips sold in sets of 4 on the Modern Robotics website. They're made by the same people that make your core power distribution module and your motor controllers. They're intended to be used in sets of 4. I'm only using 2 in my example, but please make sure to use all 4 to securely hold your device. Your robot controller simply clips in like this, holding the device while still allowing easy access to the front of the phone and easy removal. You can see here I've used an NXT hardpoint connector as a way to secure my cable. Remember, we don't want the connector to move when the cable moves. We want to secure them to the same plane. If I use the holes in the NXT hardpoint to zip tie the cable in place, that will keep it from moving, protecting the connection. I can also use the Modern Robotics phone mounts with Tetrix metal. Here I have a Tetrix C channel. One note is that the Tetrix holes don't exactly line up with the distance that you need to mount your phone this way. And so in this example, I'm using 2 pieces of C channel that I would hold together using some other Tetrix metal. Here again, I'm using an NXT hardpoint to create a spot to secure my USB cable so that it can't move relative to the phone. Another option is the ZTE phone mount from Actobotics, also known as Servo City. Once assembled, this plastic phone mount looks like this, and your ZTE phone can simply snap into it. It holds your phone securely, makes the front of the phone accessible, and the phone is easily removed. One note of caution with this device: make sure that you always put the volume side of your phone in first and then snap it. If you do it the other way, it tends to catch on the case and cause it to bulge out like this. It doesn't really hurt anything functionally, but aesthetically it's not so nice. So it's easily remedied by just putting in the volume side first and then clipping in the other side. Actobotics actually sells a whole range of components similar to Tetrix. Actually though, the Actobotics hole pattern is slightly different than the Tetrix hole pattern. So when you go to mount, if you go to mount this to a piece of Tetrix C channel, you notice the holes don't exactly line up. That's easily remedied though, because it's just plastic. You can easily drill a hole wherever you need it. Here's an example of an Actobotics phone mount mounted on a robot. I'll take the robot controller and clip it in. You can see that the front of the phone's accessible while it's also being protected. This team has actually chosen to take a piece of plexiglass to put over the front of the phone. This way it can't be hit by other robots. Phones don't make good bumpers. While we're looking at this robot, let's also talk about mounting the cables on the motor controllers. Here you can see some motor and servo controllers. And in this case, the cable has been brought down with a gentle bend and mounted onto a mounting base on the top of the motor controllers. These mounting bases are purchased at, for instance, Home Depot or Menards, and they're very inexpensive. The thing I like about these is they include self-adhesive tape, so you can easily put them wherever you like. This team has used the mounting blocks to control the cables coming off of the motor controllers, servo controllers, as well as to keep them out of gears and other dangerous pinch areas inside the robot. Now that you understand how important it is to control the cables inside your robot, I'd like to talk with you about also protecting your driver station. The driver station consists of 2 gamepads, a USB hub, and another Android device. This connection between the Android device and the USB hub is just as sensitive as the one between the robot controller and the core power distribution module. I recommend mounting it onto a hard surface so that it doesn't wiggle or get jerked out during gameplay. Another thing that I've seen a lot this year is USB cables that have gotten pulled out. Now, if you open up this hub, you'll notice that there's nothing holding the cable onto the circuit board except for the little pins where it's soldered or plugged in. And if you tug on it, it actually pulls up off of the circuit board. So this hub is broken. There are a couple of easy fixes for this, but you have to do it before you break your hub. For the first one, I'll take a zip tie and wrap it around the cable. About 1/4 inch from the end. I'll tighten it up securely. Then I'll use clippers to clip the cable. Now remember to always use safety glasses when you're using side cutters because the cable can shoot out and hit you or a bystander in the eye. Now with the zip tie in place, I'll tuck it into the case so that the zip tie acts as a knot, holding the cable from coming out, keeping some slack on the inside. Now when I snap the case back together, the cable has a little bit more support from being yanked out. Another simple option is to just bring the cable across the bottom and then use a piece of gaffer's tape to hold the cable in place. That also gives it a little bit of support. What this team has chosen to do is to mount the hub to a board, and they're using again the 1-inch mounting bases and zip ties to hold everything in place. These Velcro strips are handy. You buy these in a roll and you simply peel them off and then apply them wherever you like. Here they're using zip ties with the 1-inch mounting bases to hold the Velcro in place. You can see that if I yank on the gamepad cable, it doesn't come loose. And so the hub is protected. If your USB hub does fail, you don't have to replace it with a monoprice hub. You can also use any other unpowered USB 2 hub that you can get. A lot of times they sell these for mobile notebooks at Best Buy or Staples. Another problem teams have been having this year is the phone batteries are running down, especially for the all-day competitions, such that by the time they get to the final matches, their battery is less than 10%. When the batteries get too low on these devices, they can stop functioning properly, impacting your game. This is a mobile phone battery. You've probably seen these. You can use them to charge up your iPads or your iPhones. You can get them at Best Buy or any place that sells mobile devices. It's not enough to just plug in your robot when you're in the pits. My advice to teams is that you plug in both your driver station and your robot controller anytime that you're not on the field. Leave it plugged in all the way back to the pit and make sure that it's plugged in while you go from the pit to queuing and while you're waiting to take the field. Another option is a battery like this. This is an external battery designed for recharging tablets. A battery like this would recharge the ZTE phones all day. You wouldn't have to plug them into the wall at all. So there it is, some important information that'll hopefully help your team be more competitive. Remember, the Modern Robotics phone mounts can be purchased at this URL. They're about $7. The Activotics ZTE phone mount can be purchased from servocity.com or at the URL below. And you can get this for free just by giving them your team number. They'll also give you a 25% discount for FTC teams for ordering any part from Actobotics. However you choose to mount your phone, please remember that you also need to secure the cables. One zip tie is the difference between a secure connection and a connection that wiggles, causing your robot to disconnect. Thanks for your time, and I hope this information helps your team to have a competitive season.